Good afternoon and welcome to you all. If you can hear me well, please write 1 in the chat window. Okay, thank you very much. That's perfect. I'm Paweł Zieliński. I'm ALTEN Marketing Officer and the organizer of today's event. Thank you very much that you have joined us today and you are interested what Alexander is about to share about the ASPICE and how it works in the automotive industry. Why we are actually talking about automotive? I mean, well, ALTEN is an engineering and IT company which has started in 1988 in France, and a majority of our engineers are working in the automotive industry. So that's why we wanted to share experience, and Alexander decided to share his own. I encourage you to stay until the end of the webinar and ask questions in the chat window with question mark. And for the best question, we prepared a small prize and some useful gadgets which will be useful not only at work and also outside. The winning question will be chosen by our speaker, and next week we will send you a small gift. And so that's all from me now, and let's move further on and get to know Alexander a bit more and what he is about to say to us all. So Alexander, please introduce yourself maybe a little bit and say some words to our participants.
Welcome everyone. My name is Alexander Lashto. So now I'm an engineering attendant from 3 years old already, and I have several missions as a MATLAB developer, but also as system engineer. One in Thales and now one in Active from 1 year ago. In fact, what happened is I decided to move in Krakow with my wife, so I had to change my mission. It was, in fact, the possibility for me to discover the automotive domain, because before automotive sector, because before I was never in this kind of area. So that's why, in fact, I choose ASPICE as topic for today, because it's, I would say, a very specific kind of process, and I think it can help to give some of my experience, what are the problem I could see this year, for you to see because I guess in ALTEN you will have a lot of consultants, contractor who can be working in this area, and so I will begin with a slide now. First of all, is anyone listening me well? Because I know that with my Wi-Fi it can be difficult sometimes to hear me. As for Paweł, can you use tap 1 in the chat if you hear me well? So thank you. So first of all, what is ASPICE? So ASPICE is fact, if we look at the history, ASPICE comes from another standard named ISO ECTR 15504, which was created in 1998. In fact, the name of the standard now is SPICE, for Software Process Improvement and Capability Evaluation. This is a set of technical standards documents for the computer software development process and related business management functions. This kind of standard, in fact, has been developed in order to help the development of software, and particularly at the beginning of 2000, to help management to create quality process. That's why in 2004, there is much more evolution with the standards, which finish with the creation of specific one in different sectors like the ASPICE, because ASPICE in fact is automotive SPICE. And you can have also different kind of standards, but for different sectors like medicine, for example. The ASPICE is still compliant. It's now almost 15 years. It's more than 15 years that it's followed by a lot of company in the automotive sector, and I would say that now most of company in all the world, as in it was first in Europe, but it's also in America and in Asia, or trying to follow this kind of process. It's interesting to see that since 2015, the ISO 15405 has been changed, and it's passed to the 330, and we have, I think, now like 7 or 8 document for these new ones, and the ASPICE are trying to follow it. So, in fact, the ASPICE can be separated in 3 different categories. We have the primary. All this group will be the one which will produce all the which produces by the work. So it will be the acquisition process group and the engineering. But to maintain all this work, we have obviously some organization which we do by some management. And to finish, some support. The goal of ASPICE with all these different categories will be to give some indicators to qualify these categories. So, in fact, we will have 2 kinds of indicators. First of all, the performance indicator, which will be used at the beginning of the process. When a new company wants to follow the ASPICE, they will be judged on this indicator. So it will be done with 2 main categories: the best practices and the work products. When I mean best practices, it's really the different tasks that everyone will have to do, different categories of people which are working on this kind of organizational system. And for the work products, it's the work that you have done, and which a lot of characteristics that we will give to this works in order to what I want to say, but okay, no problem. Then, in fact, when this performance indicator will be done, will be managed, in fact, we will pass to another type of indicators, which are the capability indicator. This one are the most important, and will be done when you want to get the most high level of capability of the ASPICE, which are the generic practices and the generic resources. And these indicators are there in order to create some baseline to help all the organization in a company which follow the ASPICE process. So now I will try to present a little bit of the structure. So the ASPICE is a classic V system, in fact. So on the top, you can find the system level. The system level, in fact, will be the team which is working on all the different area, and they try to gather all the information from hardware, software, and mechanic in order to make the system be consistent and work properly. And we will have a domain level which can be divided on, with these three different topics: hardware, software, and mechanical. In this presentation, I will mainly focus on the software because I have more knowledge about this, but most of what I will say can work also with hardware and mechanical. You can see also that you have some managerial task and supply task. But this one, because I don't have any proper knowledge about it, I will not. The goal with ASPICE is to reach some capability levels. So each for every kind of levels, as I told you, you will have the indicator I was talking before. So this capability indicator and this performance indicator. To be accepted in the first level of capability, so the perform one, you will be judged on your performance indicator. As soon as you this indicator will be considered as fully acquisited. I'm not sure. You can try to reach the next capability level, and this time the goal will be to create and fulfill your generic practice and resources. That's what is it important to see here. It's for each level, the goal is to you to have process that at the beginning which are clear for everyone, and then which are little by little can be improved with control on what you are trying to do. For my own experience, I'm mainly working to reach the first level of capability, because with Active we were working in a very new area, which was ADAS, and even if Active was in the 5 level for lots of demand, in ADAS the team was very young, and it was very new topic. So the goal was to get this possible, and it was kind of difficult because as we try to explain later, trying to get the first base practice and these and more products could be a very base practices. So now I will try to pass a review, not too many times, the different position. In fact, you will have the slide after, and I think that you can see. Here, I just defined all the different best practice that are expected by ASPICE to begin, but it's only like some kind of help that you have to create your own, and to be in order to be and you will have to be judged on you will be judged on this best practice to by the audit to pass in the higher capacity level. So the first task is the requirements elicitation. This part will be to create the first communication with the client. In fact, when you're elicitate the requirements here, you will get all the different requirements for your client, and you will have to select and to discuss with them which of this you think that the company is able to do with their own resources. It will imply a lot of mechanisms to establish, as you can see, and it will also one of the most important tasks one of the most important tasks in this area would be to create a consistent baseline in order to help all the different lower position to do properly their work. Second task will be the system requirements analysis. In this part, now that the requirements have been elicited previously, we have base work some base work products that we can focus on, and the goal is to create our own one thanks to the need of the client and thanks to the technique of the resources of the company. So what? Sorry, losing a bit of myself. With this kind of here, when you're doing this kind of task, we are awaiting of you to be in fact the transition between the client and the different domain, the different domains as mechanical, electronical, and sorry, and software. What you will have to do here would be to every day try to create some high-level requirements and propose them. Sorry, I'm losing myself. So some English issue. Yes, just create a system requirement that will guide the design of the system. I think that would be okay. Is when you have all this first set of requirements, which are designed, in fact, all the functionality of your system, you will have to create some architecture. So here you will have to define all the different elements, the different interfaces, and also the behavior, the dynamic behavior of the system. And when you will create all these different things, you will have to allocate all these elements to the requirement that you have created before. The next slide. Okay. Now we are already in the higher with the V model. Now that everything has been specified, the goal here is to prepare the test and the integration of the different parts, the system, the mechanical, and the electronic. So here, the purpose of the system integration and integration test process would be to integrate the system items to produce an integrated system consistent with the system architectural design. And also it will be to ensure that the system items are tested to provide evidence for compliance of the integrated system items with the system articular design. And now to finish, we will have to qualify this. So it will be the role of the system qualification test. So here, the purpose would be to ensure that the integrated system is tested to provide evidence for compliance with the system requirements and that the system is ready for delivery. If we continue, we can see that some similarity between the system level and the software level. The difference would be first of all that we have elicited the requirement because we already get the requirements from the system, and now we're just trying to translate them for software purpose or for mechanical or electronic purpose. So I will pass in front of every slide to give the bias practice for the video. But, the roles there are kind of similar to the one that I already described for the architecture. And so now that I go through all the different things I want to show in for the ASPICE, I will try to talk a bit more about my experience. So first of all, what I can say is that the ASPICE was a very heavy process. But in fact, that's also the reason why we can say that work produced by ASPICE or has a very high quality, and that's why a lot of companies are trying to continue this. As I told you, I was working on ADAS. So what ADAS means Advanced Driving Assistance Systems. And VADA, so in fact, it's a system, it's electronic systems which assist the driver when during the driving and the parking functions, in fact. So as I told you, ADAS is it's very a young topic in Active. And because of this, we try to get the level 1 capability of ASPICE. And so it means that we had to prepare, and we were judging on our base practices and the work products we are working on, and create the best practices is very difficult task. In fact, sometimes it was I felt sometimes like you're being in a startup, but I was in a big company because everything was always changing. We were trying to learn a bit about this. Also, the teams was pretty young, so we need every day to create our not to create, but to adapt all these practices, and it was kind of difficult. So to some cases, I think it can be useful to know. But for example, something which is very important, even if it's something that we know, it's obviously the communication. So the communication, I think if you're checking if you have seen all the best practices in the different slides, for every kind of best practices, you will have that you need to summarize what you have done and communicate what you have done with all the different person involved in the process. It's obvious, but really it's important because we will be judged every day on our work product, and one of the main on the most important thing with the work product is the continuity on the work on it. And to allow this continuity, you need to communicate. And when I say that you need to communicate, you need to know who you want to communicate. Because if you don't know, you will just create some, you will just make the process more easier. I can take example with our vehicle architect. This guy was a good architect, but he has, from my side, one difficulty is you want to control everything and you want to discuss, you want to be part of the discussion for every little function. And because of this, sometimes it was just impossible to get. And because of this, it has could slow down a lot of things. Because, for example, I have another one who is just was just I have another colleague who was just expecting some input from this architect, and because he was already focused on a lot of other discussion, it was very difficult to get in, and it just slow everything. Um, Another remark is that when you will work at the system level, to create some quality and consistent work product, it's not possible to do alone. So in fact, you will have to communicate. You will have to create a lot of. You have to prepare and organize a lot of review with the different teams, with the clients. So you need to communicate, and you need also to know how to manage your communication. When I say that, it's for example when you will do all this review, you have to prepare. If you're a systems engineer, you have to know that the review has to be done with in certain circumstances. This is you have to prepare, I would say, some list of think you want to rise during this meeting. It's not exactly what I want to say. Sorry. You have to write all the characteristic you want your work product will be judged on, and you will ask the question to everyone in the review to be sure that everything is done correctly. And the goal here is to avoid to create some spontaneous discussions to different topics. You have to be stay focused on what you want to say to avoid to multiply the review and never finish to write your requirements. In case of system. Also, you have to record a lot of things. Your best practices and your work products will be analyzed during an audit. And if you have to justify everything, so record, mail, record the meeting minutes, everything can be very important if you want to justify it. The second point I want to raise is the importance of the continuity. As I told you, the work product cannot pass in front of the audit if it's not work continually. If, imagine for me, I can say as a system level, if you're working on requirements, if you let the requirements, if you don't work on a requirement during a lot of time, you're pretty sure that there have been some update from the customer or the system can have changed for different functionality, but sometimes we just decide to change because of some constraint or because we want to add another functionality. And it's pretty sure that if you write some requirement without doing anything during several months, it will be unusable later or totally obsolete. It would be the same for product in the software. If I take some code, if, for example, if there is a code that which has been not commented, which has been not following, you will see very fastly that it's just it finished to be just unusable, and all this kind of thing we just create retroengineering, and retroengineering is just more money, process which be just longer and slower, and it has to be avoided. To have on this, one of the most important would be to learn the different tools. For my case, in Active, we were using Java. There is a lot of different other software for the kind of process management. But it's very important to learn it, I would say, in every level of working in this when you are working on ASPICE. The other thing I would like to talk about was I would say the understanding of process. When I mean the understanding of process, I mean the fact that you accept the best practices. You have to understand why it's done like this and accept this, because I've seen a lot of times some people who just didn't get the point, and because of this, they want to do everything by themselves, and it just doesn't work. I can just, for example, give an example with a training we have. One time, so I had a training. It was just to try a new way of thinking our requirements from the high level in order to create a little architecture based on a little example. And in this case, we were not too many. We were like, I think like 10 engineers with two person from the management, which try to educate with these new kind of practices. And people were so disapproving it at the end of the training. We just cannot even prepare some high requirement. And I think it's just not, it was just, again, lots of time, because you can sometimes disagree with it, and it's understandable because sometimes you have your reason. But in this case, you have just to participate in the evolution process. That means that you have to be involved in it, propose your own base procedures. In general, we are everyone, particularly at the system level, and documents about it can be managed, and we can have a very can work on it. It's in fact the goals of a kind of process like ASPICE. And the last point I would like to talk about was the importance of this one. It was the main problem we have been confronted. It's the was the base for the stability. When I mean stability is we have to work thanks to a reference document which give you a lot of advice, of a lot of output that which was expecting from us. And we had this problem that this reference document change every week, because some people has always new idea and try always to change some vocabulary, try to change some just way of communicating. And with this kind of instability, it's just impossible to work, because every day you know that some kind of work you have done is just useless, because it can just work from one week and not to another one. So obviously here I think that we are more engineers, so probably it will be not our task to write this kind of reference documents. But again, when I talked before about understanding of process and communication, this one is an important one. You have to communicate this. You have to explain that you cannot change every time, and you have to show that if everything is doing like this, you just go right to the wall. So I think I will now let you ask your question. I thank you for your listening, and I hope that this little presentation can help you and prepare you for your next work in ASPICE. So I have a first question. So can you give examples of widely known company which pass audit for ASPICE capability level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? You will have, for example, PSA. You will have also Active, which have done this. Also BMW. Absolutely not. Yes, it's true that German market has always used ASPICE. It was one of the main users, but it's done. It was at the beginning done in Europe, and now it's done in every area, in every part of the world, as in USA, as in Asia.
Okay, so there is no more questions in the Q&A session. So thank you very much to you, Alexander, for sharing your ideas and your experiences with ASPICE. Thank you very much to all attendees, and hope you enjoyed. Sorry for some audio issues. Hopefully you heard as much as you wish to hear, and hopefully I could invite you to another webinar. I suppose we'll be ready in 2 weeks. Also, please follow us on social media, ALTEN Polska social media, especially YouTube channel, because we will publish this recording also at our YouTube profile. So take care, have a great evening, and thank you very much, Alexander.
Okay, thank you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.